Now, after this incident at 11, did your mother begin to do something peculiar with respect to your body?
No, it wasn't right after that incident. It was much later.
How much later?
Almost a year. It was when other stuff started to happen.
What kind of other stuff was happening? Just generically.
Actual sex.
Intercourse?
Yes.
And it was after that started to happen that your mother started to do something to you?
Yes.
And what was it that your mother started to do?
She would ask me to sit on the bed and take down my pants so she could examine me.
Examine you where?
And my genitals. She called it checking me out. She would say, "Let me check you out." And I would sit down on the bed and she would look at my penis.
Would she, did she tell you why she was checking you out?
She just said to see if there was anything wrong. She didn't give me any details about why.
And were there times when there was something unusual?
Yes.
Okay. And what were these unusual things?
I would just have small blisters on my penis.
And would your mother do anything about that?
Yes.
What did she do?
She used to squeeze them and pop them.
And did she ever ask you where they were coming from?
No.
And did she ever tell you what they were?
No.
And at that point, strike that, you've testified that around 10, your father had taught you to have anal sex with him, correct?
He taught me how to do it, yes.
Yes. And at this point, when your mother is checking you out, is that still happening?
Very infrequently.
Does your mother continue to check you out for several years?
Yeah, all the way up until we moved to California.
And is there some other types of activities with your father that begin during the period that she's checking you out?
Yes.
And are those the things you came to call rough sex?
Actually, I was referring to nice sex.
Okay, but was there also rough sex happening during that time?
Yes.
And did rough sex involve your father hurting you with things?
Yes.
And what kind of things was he hurting you with?
Needles, pins, tacks.
What was he doing with the
Rope.
needles? Excuse me?
Rope.
What was he doing with the needles and the pins and the tacks, generally?
He was sticking them into my thighs and my butt.
Was he doing anything to your penis?
Yes.
What was he doing?
Sometimes he'd be giving me oral sex, and sometimes he would have just tied up my penis.
Back up. Tied it up with the rope?
Yes.
And would that hurt?
Yes, very much so.
And when those activities were going on, was your mother still checking you out?
Yes.
Now, your father, during the years that you lived in Pennington, was an executive with the RCA Corporation, was he not?
Yes.
And was he traveling a lot?
Yes, he was traveling almost every week. At least he was in New York, away from the house almost every week.
Well, was he away for the whole week, or was he away at least part of each week?
Part of each week.
Was he a very busy person?
Yes.
And did he talk about how important and busy he was at work?
Yes, he'd talk about his work. Not during these sessions, but at home at other times.
At any time, Mr. Menendez, when you were alone with your father in your room, when any of these sexual things would happen, would your mother ever come and say, "Jose, you have a phone call," or anything like that?
No.
Did your father spend a lot of time on the phone with business other than when he was in your room?
Yes.
And would he receive a lot of phone calls at the house?
Yes.